Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRoushMedia.com. Photo, video, digital media production. Where the fuck is my phone? Yes, I found it. Sorry. Day 39 of quarantine slash pandemic COVID-19's bullshit. And you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm just like many people, way over it, needing some outside air. I need some people in my life. I need some movies in my life. Not to disparage the people that are suffering and going through horrible shit through this time. Being bored is obviously not that bad of a problem in comparison to what tons of other people throughout the world are having to go through. So I don't want to demean that. I'm just kind of getting my feelings out of what's going on with this pandemic. Almost 40 days since the lockdown in North Carolina, relatively. Regardless, I still went out that first week, so it's it's slightly under 40 days since I've been in a big public setting, minus going to the grocery stores and whatnot. But I'm curious how everyone else is handling it out there. Recently, this is the aftercast for everyone that's new, that has no idea what's going on, or just stumbled into this podcast, whether it's live, YouTube, so whatever social media, Facebook, Instagram, however you found our podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We cannot do this without your support. The aftercast, by the way, is behind the scenes of the Lucky Doll podcast. We talk about just random bullshit that has nothing to really do with the reviews that we've talked about, although for anyone that is interested in the TV movies media section of the Lucky Dog podcast, type in Lucky Dog podcast on Soundcloud and you'll find our entire library for shows that we've reviewed, such as Money Heist, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Ford v Ferrari, Devs on Hulu, The Platform on Netflix. We've got tons of movie reviews that are available for your convenience and listening pleasure. So let's talk about the aftercast. Well, it's day 39 of the lockdown. I'm in Corona news. Let's just go ahead with the Corona news. Corona just, taken over news, and for better or for worse, I absolutely, hate watching the news now. Now, the good things about it are, the pros of the news. Let's just do a quick review, or seeing the good things that are coming out of it. Seeing the cumulative nature of people coming together to fight a single entity that is trying to take us down. Yes, that's good. But obviously, we can't always have people on both sides. Or we can't always have people on one side facing one piece of, one entity that is trying to take us down. It can't just be humans versus the corona. It's not that. It's very much a push and pull situation with trying to go back to work, trying to restart the economy versus not wanting to get sick and not put other people at a greater health risk. So, yes, I can totally see the need. We want to go back to work. We want the return of our lifestyle. The thing is, we also don't want to get sick. We don't want to pass it on. We don't want to make this any worse than it already is. And so, yes, the good things that are coming out of the news, such as let's see, this was on Twitter and it's being reported by Bloomberg. Cases top 2.4 million globally. Deaths globally are at 165,000. China is saying that they reports 12 cases and no new deaths, which is I don't know about all that. I don't really want to touch that right now. And there's a lot of speculation about who's funding who. It's a lot of political things that are happening behind the scenes that are not exactly at the forefront. You kind of have to do a little bit of digging to see, who's reporting the facts, what are the facts, what exactly are are the benefits of the companies and the non-profit organizations that are helping them out. So uh, I'm learning much more about this, day by day, who's supporting this. And also, what's happening is there's this large group of people. I'm sure it's not just in the States, but a large group of people in a lot of countries that are trying to, push the agenda to go back to work. And I can't disagree with the motive of what they want to do. They have good intentions relatively with saying that, we want to get back to work, we want to get our paychecks, we want to get our kids back in school, that type of thing. I can't argue with that. I just do have a gripe with them trying to this subgroup of people that are saying, Corona is a hoax, Corona doesn't exist, Corona doesn't kill as many people as swimming pool deaths or car wrecks or something like that. It's like, these are apples to oranges, and swimming pool deaths are not contagious. So I just don't even understand why people are comparing the two. It doesn't really it's not it's not contagious. I don't understand why they're even talking like that, because the toll that it's been taken on around the world, not just the States, is significant for the past few months. Obviously this has surpassed the swine flu quote unquote pandemic. We didn't stop businesses because of the swine flu, and also the swine flu killed about, I don't know, was it several thousand people, tens of thousands of people, I believe, in the first year, but not in the first few months. So it just for numbers sake, that's what really irritates me when it comes down to comparing some of these things. But anyways, let's talk about non-corona news. I told y'all we wanted to talk about more positive things. Let's see what we got. I'm just kind of scrolling down Twitter. It's interesting. So everyone's getting back their loans, their stimulus checks, their COVID checks, their unemployment checks. I ain't got nothing. I don't know why it's taking so long. I did hear that Trump was trying to print his name or something like that on all of the checks, so it's taking extra long. So you know who to blame for that. The what's it? Company Shake Shack is returning the $10 million government loan meant for small businesses, which I guess is a pretty big deal. I guess that hopefully that $10 million goes back to small business owners and stuff like that, which is quite notable for a business like Shake Shack. It's not like they're not like a McDonald's or anything like that, where they just probably have a ton of funds on the side ready. But it is going to be very interesting when we go back to work how life is going to change. I was hearing possible restaurants are going to have to be mandatory to wear, the waiters are going to have to wear gloves, wear masks, do all this types of stuff. I think the entire service industry on a wide scale is going to have to change. I wonder if, from like a bar standpoint, if there's anything they could do. I know just the amount of people that go to a bar, if you just think about trying to, how many people are bumping up against you, near your drinks, all of that stuff, you're anything but 6 feet apart. And so I wonder if this is going to really limit the amount of people in bars and social settings in places like, even like Starbucks or something like that. I wonder if people in there are going to have to wear face masks. I wonder, my biggest question is, what kind of face masks are going to be the most notable in society? Like, are shield face masks, like clear ones that go over your entire face and chin, are they going to be the ones almost like a welder, like not quite like darkened out and everything, but completely plastic and you can see through it, but it still covers your whole entire face? Wearing the masks that they have to wear for nurses and for doctors, the thing about those masks, they aren't exactly comfortable. They're not quote unquote sexy. And I know you're not trying to look at masks to be sexy or anything like that, but that's the natural conclusion of making these masks, is not making them sexy, is making them cool, making them feasible. Why would you buy this one over that one? And so there is going to be this, once everything is, directed in the new quote unquote new normal, what are going to be the normal face masks, or what are going to be the normal everyday life attire? Is that all going to change? Or are we going to have to, walk through decontamination chambers like something out of a sci-fi film? Or what I most like, what I'm thinking of it most likely is going to be like, is we're going to have decontamination rooms and chambers and maybe mobile units that come and decontaminate things for us. It's going to be a completely new business. They're going to have the hand sanitizer, the Lysol, to bleach whatever you need. They're going to sanitize everything. I think there's going to be just a real uptick in cleaning departments. And I keep saying decontamination because I think that's what it's going to be like. I would not be surprised to see something on the scale of like a Walmart or some of these big public places that have a lot of people coming in and out, to have decontamination chambers. When you're getting your cart or when you're first walking in, it already feels like you're kind of transitioning into something as you're going into Walmart, as you go now. Regardless if you go to Walmart, go to Trader Joe's, go to any other Whole Foods place, I would not be surprised to see some of the more progressive states start to enact laws that require people to go through these, to either not go in grocery stores, or they're going to require them to have decontamination or something. I'm not exactly sure. But having tons of people going in and out of places like that is a big liability. And one of the best ways to probably remove the liability is, not either have them go into the store or not have them be contaminated go into the store. I don't know. Kind of like, getting a shower before you jump in a pool. But I'm kind of thinking of these decontamination chambers more or less like how TSA kind of all of a sudden had metal detectors to detect people going into clubs and live events and airplanes and more social settings that require that type of security. I think that there's going to be decontamination chambers in that style. Whoops. Oh, something's doing good. But yes, so that's my take on the Corona COVID craziness. Um, my prayers go to everyone in Nova Scotia, Canada, for the shooting that happened over there, the absolute meaningless shooting. I think that, what was it, a few weeks ago, there hadn't been a mass shooting in a school since they had canceled it. There hadn't been a mass shooting since like 2002, I believe they said. And there had, every month there was at least one mass shooting up until when they had closed the campuses sometime in in March. And so that was pretty crazy. And, to see the shootings come back, and in Canada especially, that's not a place that you generally hear about it. You think of the U.S. as being more gun crazy than any other place. But yeah. What else do we got? I think there was something I forgot to say. One of the big kickers that really set off what made me realize, holy shit, this is the biggest thing, was when Tom Hanks was diagnosed, and his wife were diagnosed with COVID-19. And I think in the same day they decided to cancel NBA for the remainder of the season. And so I was just like, oh my Lanta, like the amount of money that goes into just the NBA alone, I could not believe that they did that. I think they had like one or two players test positive for it, and one of those players, I don't remember his name off the top of my head. One of those players was jokingly act like he had COVID-19, and he touched all of the microphones of the reporters when he was interviewed, and then like 2 days later he was actually diagnosed with it. I was like, damn, what a dumbass. And so people not taking it seriously like that obviously is upsetting. But it was whenever Tom Hanks got it, and the NBA was canceled, that's when I knew this was, a pandemic like no other. Regardless of, hearing 200 people died, 300 people died, 400 people died is obviously depressing, but it's so large of a scale of mass loss of death that it's hard to even comprehend it. It takes more or less a name, something that you more or less feel like Unfortunately, it feels like for some reason you hear 200 deaths and you have no idea who they were, what their name was. You say, oh, okay. But then you hear the one, you hear Tom Hanks has it, and unfortunately you're like, oh my gosh, this is some real shit. It's like, I admittedly think have thought like that, and I, try not to, but it, putting, celebrities or putting people of noteworthy names above, quote unquote normal people is very dangerous for, navigating, especially talking about like the disease. Like diseases can get anybody. So yeah, sometimes I think we just don't really think about that on a scale, or maybe I don't think about that. Maybe everybody else thinks about that, and the pandemic really puts things in perspective, I guess. You know, but yeah, tell me what you are thinking out there, everybody. I hope everyone's thriving in a way that is as productive as possible. I'm sure I want to make a bingo game that is included for Corona COVID times. I guess every time someone says uncertainty or new normal, it's just or unprecedented. I think there's like the three main words I've heard uttered and repeated for the past like 2 months, and it's really made me try to disengage with the news because I was so engaged learning about oh god, 3,000 deaths, 4,000 deaths, 5,000 deaths. It was becoming depressing, and I don't know how people in the news work like that day to day. Just you got to become numb to it, I guess. Just seeing all these numbers of mass loss. It's just it'd be horrifying for me personally, just having to deal with that. And so I tip my hat to everyone that has to report that type of stuff and obviously has to live through it, and the healthcare workers as well. Heart goes out to all of them. But yeah, and I guess what is essential business when it comes down to it. If you ask any business owner, I think they would majorly say that, yeah, my business is essential. It's essential in a way that means it supports my livelihood, but you know what? You have to, excuse me, if you have one of these businesses, like one of these creative businesses, mine's somewhat like one of these creative businesses, with video, and photo, but it's definitely coming to a point in some of the areas of the states that they're like, we only have like 1 or 2 cases in the states. Granted that not tons of people are being tested, but a lot more are being tested than not. And they're trying to ramp it up, I believe, from what I'm understanding. But yeah, the word essential business is very delicate these days, and I'm one of those people that obviously wants to get back to all the events that I had to shoot, that I had to work on, that were canceled or postponed, for an untold amount of time, and so I totally sympathize and empathize with these people that are struggling to an extent. Now there's people that have kids out there that need to feed them and are really struggling, not getting some of these checks and benefits that they absolutely need to be having. And I'm not struggling like that. I'm one of these people that is ready to get back to work, and really hoping that the social distancing is working, because like I said, it's been just shy of 40 days since I've been in probably a crowd of larger than 10 people. So it definitely is weighing a toll, a mental toll as well. I'm seeing a lot of people getting tired of Zoom meetings and watch parties. I mean, there's probably been tons of those ever since this has happened. So we're just gonna try to evolve as it goes, as it happens. But thank you for listening, watching LuckyDog Podcast Aftercast number 10. If you are looking for a photo or digital, what is a digital? Oh Lord, I think I just made something up. If you're looking for photo, video, or digital media production, be sure to check out eliasroushmedia.com. Be sure to check out the rest of the Aftercast. You got Aftercast number 1 through 10 that you can check out. It's just all behind the scenes of the Lucky Dog podcast if you like it. I've already given you a list of SoundCloud recommendations as well if you're looking for photo. Sorry, if you're looking for photo, if you're looking for podcast, I need to get the hell off of here now. If you're looking for podcast reviews and photos, if you're looking for the movie Portrait of a Lady on Fire is the one I'm going to recommend specifically. If you have Hulu, it's available now. It is pretty dynamic, and it's not quite for everybody. If you're not sure if you're going to enjoy it, maybe take a listen or a watch of the Portrait of a Lady on Fire review, and all of them have a non-spoiler bumper at first, and you'll be able to check it out. So thank you for listening, watching Lucky Dog Podcast, Aftercast number 10. Be sure to check out more Lucky Dog Podcast at your convenience. Comments, questions, concerns, luckydogpodcast@gmail.com. All the social links are in the description. Thank you, and take it easy. It's been 54 days since we've seen the light of day. Ah, yes, welcome everyone. Gather round, gather round. It is Aftercast 11, sponsored by Elias Roush Media. This is the Lucky Dog Podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. I just wanted to let everyone know, first of all, happy Cinco de Mayo. If you're listening to this in the past or the future, and it happens to be May the 4th, and we just wanted to cover that too. Happy, May the 4th be with you. Whatever day you listening, watching this Lucky Dog Podcast, thank you for listening. There's been tons of movie news. Nic Cage has been cast as the new Tiger King in the new television series. Not quite sure where it's going to be premiered. We have had lockdowns lifted upon us in the North Carolina region. In certain areas, it seems to be more of a town-by-town, state-by-state kind of thing. I think I might have talked about that in previous Aftercast, how I didn't think that it was all going to just kind of flip a switch like that and everyone just go back to work like, just everybody willy-nilly. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of cover the Aftercast and what's been going on. Just if you're listening to this, if you wanted to listen live, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, all the social medias, you can find us on there. We produce this live occasionally, depending on the podcast, depending on how much production we're going to put into it. Generally, that is on Twitch at Lucky Dog Podcast. You can support at paypal.me/the Lucky Dog Podcast. Link is in the descriptions. So yes, there has been an abundance of news left and right. COVID-19 has still been just chilling in the background. People are tired of it. I'm tired of it. Everyone's tired of it. America's tired of it. We got the crazy people out there saying they don't give a shit if they get COVID. They need to get out, and they need to do it now. So I think we did talk about cabin fever on a mass scale. And it's been quite a feature, quite an isolation trip just to watch and see the madness descend upon the country. But, on a more lighter note, at least we're starting to see more of a peak. I haven't been following the news nearly as much as I was at the beginning of the craziness, mostly because it made me really depressed. I wasn't really trying to have all that kind of negativity throughout the podcast and just in my head throughout the day. It was just really hard to really it was a big downer, to be honest. I couldn't really describe it much better than that. But yeah, so on some good news, on the Lucky Dog podcast behind the scenes studios. I do talk about the Aftercast being behind the scenes. Finally got a capture card, so we should have a pretty clear video coming to you pretty soon via Twitch, and so you'll be able to see my pretty face alongside any of our hosts that we decide to have on as well. All the live events will be on the Twitch channel. But yeah, I just want to kind of give everybody a little bit of an update. I'm getting back to work a little bit here and there. I'm glad that things are starting to kind of improve in certain areas. Now, not everyone's experiencing the same thing. Obviously, this is just me personally. So hopefully on your side, you're able to start to see some sort of sense of normalcy on your end. And yeah, let me know what you think about the Aftercast. Relatively kind of a short one. Check out Look It Up Podcasts on Instagram, Facebook, all the popular social medias out. I just kind of want to do a quick roundup of some small things going on. The capture card deal, the Tiger King deals. We checked out a pretty cool show. Sorry, did I say television show? Yeah, it was a television show. Money Heist on Netflix. The season finale just finishing up. We just finished up Westworld, getting ready to record new Westworld finale podcast for season 3. We checked out Extraction on Netflix. Check that out. It's a fun action B movie, a little bit violent. We also checked out Drake Dark Lane demo tapes, mixtape review. Go check those out. Those are all reviews that are hot and ready and in the oven, ready for you to just bring on out. If you didn't know what that meant by that sound effect. All right, so yeah, be sure to check us out live on Twitch. Play some games, play some Call of Duty, plus some reviews and everything else, visual, ASMR, all the good stuff. So check it out. Look it up, podcast. Take it easy. Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog Podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRoushMedia.com, photo, video, digital media production. Today we are discussing just a little Aftercast news, a little behind the scenes on what's going on with the Lucky Dog Podcast. I just want to say, first of all, thank you all for supporting the Lucky Dog Podcast. Comments, the questions, the concerns, all of the feedback has been amazing. Sent it to LuckyDogPodcast@gmail.com. All the subscriptions on YouTube and subscriptions on Twitch and all these other platforms. I really appreciate all the support. For everyone that's new, that's joining, thank you all for listening to the Aftercast. This is where we talk about behind the scenes on the Look It Up podcast, either for just a couple minutes or maybe 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes. It really depends on how much we got to talk about. But this one will probably be a relatively quick one. Just want to kind of give a quick update, small COVID-19 update about what's kind of going on with the different phases that is going on in the States. So, real quickly, everyone knows for roughly about the past 8 weeks, give or take, where you are, West Coast, East Coast, that we've been in a major pandemic. Everything's been on lockdown, shut down. Everything's been closed except for grocery stores and essential businesses. So this week was the first week we were allowed to, right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, allowed to go back to our offices, go back to work if it wasn't over like 20 or something people. So it's my understanding this entire first week and second week is going to be phase 1, and there's going to be a phase 2 sometime around the end of next week, and then a phase 3 maybe in a couple weeks. And each one of those phases kind of increments how many people are allowed to be within a room. And so this phase 1 I think is up to 10 people, phase 2 is like up to 50 people, phase 3 is maybe 200 plus people. And so Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how everything is kind of returning back to quote unquote the new normal. And I'll try to not use too many of those phrases anymore because it about drives me up the wall hearing all of these advertisements that are, we're here with you, during these uncertain times. It's like, oh my God! It make you spaz hearing all this stuff. So, yeah, just the way that time was perceived over the course of this pandemic, it felt like the first 4 weeks were going at a snail's pace in March, and then in April, when I decided to kind of stop watching as much pandemic news, I almost all in March I was just watching daily in and out how many deaths, how many cases, what's going to happen next. It was very draining, and I was like, goodness, this is depressing in a way. So I kind of edged away from it. You can probably hear it in my podcast that I stopped talking about the COVID stuff a little bit more. We did do a couple of movie reviews if you wanted to hear, like the Outbreak 1995 movie, I believe we did a review on, and then we touched on what was it called? Contagion, I believe. Yeah, Contagion was the movie that we also touched on. And those were the small movies that we were, or not the small movies, those were the quote unquote relevant movies that we wanted to kind of touch on to see, how the pandemic was in accordance to, some of the media that we had seen. So I definitely think that Contagion was, more closer to the latter of what is actually happening. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. That's just a little bit behind the scenes of the COVID update and what's going on with me. I've become way more busy trying to, get my personal business back online. I run a digital media business, photography, videography, and digital media production. And so the majority of my work was postponed until further notice. And so I have not been getting, because I'm self-employed, there's some weird stipulations given the COVID stimulus and update, unemployment stuff. So I'm trying my best to get my business back on its feet, but it has not been easy. It's been quite an interesting turn of events. So personally, me. I've been trying to recover from a car wreck I had in February, and I was actually feeling a lot better in the middle of March to April, but the chiropractor ended up having to close, and I started to progressively get worse. So I am still kind of doing some of my own physical therapy, exercising and trying to stretch everything. It's been a real challenge, honestly, and I actually found out that I think that my pillow that I'm using is making my neck worse. I think I just had some whiplash, and the way that I'm sleeping on my neck seems to be not helping it too much. But yeah, it's been a challenging couple months, and in accordance with that, my father has not been doing hot. My father is close to 70, and he's experiencing a lot of these pains that are in his stomach. It's something to do with kind of like a Crohn's disease, kind of, that is irritating his stomach, and he's just in this constant pain or burning in his, and it's kind of hard to understand exactly what he's going through. But I'm gonna have to go help him out, take him to the hospital to run some tests after we record this podcast. But yeah, 2020 has been a relatively major speed bump in life progression and professional progression. I just was not expecting all of this on all of this happening all at the same time. So it's just it's a little overwhelming here and there. But let's talk about some good news. I don't want to dour everyone down or sour everyone down, or whatever the word is, with what's going on in my life. But I did want to say that we've had some great response to the Discord. Check in the link below if you want to join the LuckyDog podcast Discord. We have a couple different topics we discuss on there, general stuff, just YouTube reviews. We have the live streaming channel. We have the Twitter, what we talk about, tweets and whatnot on there. New music, if you have new banging music, you want to share it on there. The Discord channel is a great place to do it. We also talk about stocks. During this pandemic, I kind of decided to take a little more firm of an interest in stocks and stock trading and just understanding the stock market. And so I've been taking a couple of courses and learning about call outs and the best things to watch for. So if you're interested in any of that type of financial stuff, you can definitely join the podcast for that. We have interesting call outs on different stocks we like to watch and other things like that. And it's not just financial stuff. Like I said, we have the other channels on there as well. But the link is in the show notes. What else do we have? Scoob just came out today. I might try to rent that. New Scooby-Doo movie. What else have I watched? Oh, recently what I've been watching was Waco. I have not sat down and given a full-on review of the podcast, but just a kind of a sneak peek. I will say the Waco mini-series on Netflix was very eye-opening. It's relatively, kind of biased in a way. They're not very much pro-government at all, or pro-law enforcement, sorry. Not that it's a good or bad thing. I'm just stating that. But they really try to put some sympathy for the Davidians, the Bolivar Davidians or something. I don't remember what the cult was called, but it was this cult that was in Waco, Texas in 1993, and this craziness happens with the law enforcement to try to get them to come out of their compound. So I'd say the majority of the season was, decent, not fantastic, but then that last episode, oh my gosh, I was not ready for that last episode. And the actors and the casting in it, wow, it just blew me away. So that's a little sneak peek for the Waco review coming up. It'll be a full season review, so if you want to go ahead and watch it, get it, pop it in the queue. I definitely think it's worth the watch. So what else do we got going on around here? We went on about 8 weeks of pandemic. Kind of had some health stuff going, family stuff. We got a new podcast coming down the tube. I'm probably gonna do a full season review of or just a season 1 episode 8 review of excuse me, of the Midnight Gospel. Kind of like Waco, I thought the majority of the season was just pretty good, but then that last episode, oh my gosh, was a wallop of emotion, and I think that last episode hits on every cylinder it needs to. The visuals, the audio, the meaning of it, and that last episode of the Midnight Gospel just freaking rips. And for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, the Midnight Gospel is a 8-episode series on Netflix, animated by the same guys that brought you Adventure Time. It was the kind of trippy, hallucinogenic television show, but the Midnight Gospel is for adults, and they're using audio that is conversations from their podcasts. And so it's just like this crazy ride of visuals happening with their podcasts playing. And so it's a little bit difficult to explain without actually seeing it, but if you see the trailer, if you're interested at all, I would definitely check it out. If you're like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like all these episodes, watch like the first or second episode and then jump into the final one, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, like I really, there's some serious potential with that show, and I feel like I need to talk about it more just to get it out there. Let's see what else we got. Let me see what else we got. I want to know how I can improve with the podcast. I try to go back and listen to my podcast every once in a while just to hear what I'm saying, see what we're talking about, see how we can improve. If it doesn't sound too good, sounds too loud, the usual. Let me know if there's anything I can specifically do to enhance the viewers' experience. Maybe I should condense the things I'm saying in a shorter fashion. I see the majority of my podcasts are around 30 minutes. Is that too long? Do y'all like shorter podcasts? Do y'all like longer podcasts? I try to navigate based on the most popular, but they're kind of all over the place. And some of the most popular podcasts I have are generally TV shows, so that y'all can continuously come back and listen to episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and that's what really builds a base, in my opinion. But y'all let me know what I can do to improve the podcast experience. But yeah, thank you for listening, watching LuckyDog Podcast. We could not do this podcast without you. This was Aftercast number 12, I think. Yeah, number 12. And yeah, I'm gonna go pick up my pops. Hopefully everything's gonna run all smoothly. Y'all wish us best luck, and I hope everyone around the world is staying safe. Matt G, thank you for hitting me up on YouTube, talking about some really interesting Westworld theories and ideals. Can't thank you enough for that. Check out Twitch. We'll be gaming on there. I've just got a capture card, so I can finally put my beautiful face on there. Hopefully we get everything all squared away so it looks and sounds good. Let me know what I can do for you to enjoy the podcast a little bit more, what you would like me to review. Check it out, Look It Up Podcast. Take it easy.